Hello everyone, you did it. You've made it to the final week of our semester, which is week 16. I am extremely proud of all of the work you've done over the last 15 weeks, and I'm very confident that you all have the knowledge and skills to finish this course by completing the final project and the final project reflection, which are your main two assignments worth a total of 200 points for this week. I'll also point out that there is a short wrap-up survey worth 10 additional points that are included in week 16. Before we get into the specific instructions for the final project, I want to remind everyone that there have been a number of brainstorming prompts included in most of your discussions and journals from the last few months. You've already created your LibGuide and created the 5 required pages for the final project. The final project really is more about filling in those pages to include many of the most important components of libraries. You may have noticed that there are different discussions, journals, and assignments that correspond directly to some of the required elements in the final project for things like the home page, the About Us page, services, collections, and then of course your special feature. I'll be pointing out which of those assignments you can look back upon to see some of the ideas that you already shared out as early as week 5. I think it's going to be a good strategy to look back at those learning activities as you work through the different sections of the final projects, just to refresh your memory about some of the things that you already considered as we were learning about those specific components of libraries across the different weeks. Next, let's take a look at the final project instructions together. First, I want to point out the learning objectives near the top of the page in these first 3 bullet points. This is what you're expected to learn by completing this assignment. After completing this assignment, students will be able to create and edit different content types using pages and boxes in a LibGuide. Identify and describe library services, policies, and resources relevant to one of the 4 main types of libraries, and find library information sources and identify key bibliographic information. The point of this assignment is to help you build skills with this very commonly used library tool, so that if you do start a position in any of the 4 different types of libraries, you already have some familiarity with LibGuides and will be able to contribute with minimal amount of training. I think this will go a very long way when it comes to the interview and onboarding process. I cannot stress enough that you all should definitely be adding LibGuide experience onto your resumes. This means adding a line under your technical skills that says LibGuide creation, LibGuide content editing, writing about that in your cover letters, and definitely sharing that you have experience with LibGuides in your future interviews. Even things like knowing how to resize images, make signs, or knowing the basics about accessibility and color contrast, like I discussed in the design elements videos, that can put you way ahead of other candidates and confirm to your employers that they really did make the best choice when they hired you. Okay, let's get back to the assignment. While you may have already demonstrated your ability to create a guide, create boxes, and add different kinds of content in the LibGuide setup assignment and building your mini collection assignments from week 8 and week 10, the major goal of the final project is to create a cohesive LibGuide that represents all of the different aspects of a library that we have covered so far in this course. Instead of having you take a more traditional final exam with multiple choice questions or writing some kind of an essay, you will demonstrate your knowledge and abilities by creating the content for this LibGuide. It is also extremely important that you make your library type very clear in your mission statement and that all of the tabs in the LibGuide that you create are relevant to your library type, whether that is a public library, school library, academic library, and special library. You'll see how important this is under the first line of the instructions that states select one of the 4 library types and complete a LibGuide containing the following. As I mentioned in the design elements video, the instructions on this page outline the specific requirements for the 5 pages of your LibGuide and the exact required content. There is one additional section towards the bottom under design, and that refers to design elements across the entire LibGuide. Now we're going to go page by page and talk about some of the new or different elements that you may not be very familiar with. Under homepage, the first requirement is that you rename the entire LibGuide from what you currently have, which should be your last name and first name, to reflect the name of your dream library. So this is referring to the title of the LibGuide, which you'll see up here. To change this, we're just going to double click. This window will open up, and then we'll change this to the official name of the library. Click that check mark. You should see that updated. There you are meeting the requirements for number 1 under the home page. Next, you'll see the library information boxes show up once again. In the past, I had you all at least create the boxes to show where that kind of information would be placed on your LibGuide. For the final project, I am asking that you create a fake phone number and address that corresponds to an actual city and state. You'll only need to add the country if your dream library is international. Also, please do not forget to include your library's operating hours. In my example, you'll see that I chose to create 3 boxes. One that includes contact information, one has the library hours, and one has the address. I chose to separate these because by separating the boxes, I can choose to reuse them separately on different pages. For example, on the About the Library page, I chose to reuse the Contact Us and Library Hours box on this page so that library patrons can see this information as they move through the different pages of the website. Many of you have already completed the library information box or boxes. I just wanted to give everyone else a chance to complete this very important part of any library website homepage. Everything else on the final project instructions is completely new and unique to the final project. There are changes that I'm asking you to make and descriptive information that I'm asking you to add to complete your final project. For example, here I ask for a sentence or 2 that describes the library services and how it serves the community. Previously, you were asked to label a space in your welcome box for the mission statement and values. Now you're being asked to fill in that mission statement and select a list of values from the ALA core values of librarianship. Take a look at Module 9, our catch-up week, where I provided library statement examples. You'll see this chart that describes the library type, provides an example of an existing mission statement, and then highlights how to incorporate your library name and identify it as a specific library type. Look for the bold to show where I've added the library type so that you are clearly distinguishing your library as one of the 4 library types. This is not usually seen in mission statements. That is something we're doing specifically for this assignment. You can also see an example of the mission statement that I created on my sample LibGuide and the list of values that I selected from the ALA's list of core values. This is linked in the final project. I'm asking you to choose 4 to 6 values from this list. That would be these bolded terms. And then you're welcome to add your own values for a maximum of 8. The About page is very technical and very straightforward. Remember, this is a dream library and these details do not need to be realistic, they just need to be present. The point of this page is for students to demonstrate an understanding of these elements as part of library operations. You answered questions about funding in the week 13 planning and budget journal. So I would recommend looking back at that journal to see what you already learned about where funding tends to come from to be able to answer the specific requirements for the funding statement box. The facilities and technology box is pretty new. It does ask that you describe the physical aspects of the library, including things like square footage, the number of service desks, the number of patron desks, and any kind of technology that is offered at the library. I Googled square footage and the name of a few libraries in my area to come up with a few examples of what square footage looks like at different kinds of libraries. You'll see my Google search terms appear in the search bar. And while I did find a web article about the building project for East LA College's library, which is an academic library, I also came upon information about the new East LA Public Library building. Just in this small summary here, I can see that the public library was rebuilt to 26,000 square feet, which is nearly double the size of the old building. When I actually looked at that web page, I found some really good information, not only about the square footage, but about what that square footage holds, including space for children, book drop, meeting rooms, and a number of study rooms. So I think Googling square footage is a great way to see what comparable libraries are like in terms of size and what also fits within that square footage number. The library at East LA College is 60,000 square feet. This is a massive 2-story building that includes 3 service desks, a full computer lab. It also includes 2 instructional rooms, which are classrooms, and at least 10 individual offices for faculty. At Neely Library, we're at about 40,000 square feet, and you can see what fits in 40,000 square feet by taking a look at the policies and general information page on our library's website and taking a look at the map that is provided here. You can also see examples of the Meet Our Staff box, facilities and technology box, and then also my explanation for library funding in my Selena Quintanilla sample dream library. The services page asks for 3 separate boxes that describe 3 separate services. This is not a trick question. It really can be as simple as 1, circulation, 2, reference, and 3, technology checkout. I ask for at least 3 sentences to describe each separate service, and you can also see examples of this on the Our Services page of my sample LibGuide. Then you'll need to identify one of those services that you want to further explain a policy for. I highly recommend including a loan policy if you have a circulating collection, especially because most of you provided these details in week 6's circulation services discussion. The good news about the collections instructions is that you've done roughly 1/3 of the work here. You just need to find 5 more books to reach the total of 10 required books for your collection. You'll use the books from the catalog content type like you've done before. One thing that is new on the assignment is adding the call number for the books that you are adding to your collection. Adding a call number is something that each individual library does for their books. Video 4 on this same page shows you how to assign a call number to one of your books. So basically you're going to choose a library that is the same library type as your dream library, right? Public, academic, school, or special. Search for either the exact same book that you're looking for the call number or a book in a very similar subject. You can just find that call number, copy and paste that into the call number field of the books from the catalog box. I'll show you what I mean here. So for example, I already included the call number for Tejano Proud in my collections page. And once I find the call number for something like Queen of Tejano Music, I'm going to edit this and just drop that call number in this field here. I'll make a quick note to ensure that you all use the same classification system for all 10 of your books. So if you're using Dewey for a public library, make sure all of your call numbers are in Dewey. If you're choosing to use Library of Congress classification, make sure they're all in LCC. Additionally, you'll need to add 5 resources in a different format other than books. This can be 5 databases, 5 newspapers, or magazines. You can also do a combination of databases, newspapers, and magazines, like I did in my sample LibGuide. You'll see my 10 books. Then I included 3 article databases and 3 newspapers. This is something new. I am asking that you use the add link. You'll see that creates this really nice bullet pointed list of the databases with the links and a short description. So you'll just do add link. You'll name the link, right? That would be the name of the source. Include the URL to the link. If it's a database, you can use the exact link from Neely Library's databases. If it happens to be a newspaper or a magazine, just find that source online and drop that URL there. And then include a short description. So you just need 3 things: name of the link, the URL, and a short description. That's what creates these really nice bullet pointed lists instead of randomly dropping in a URL or just writing in what the name of that source is. This way I'll be able to check out the source myself and just confirm that it's a real active library resource. The special feature page of your LibGuide should be the most brief of the entire guide. This is where I hope to see some more of your imagination, but it really just needs a short 3-sentence description of what this unique feature is at your library. If you created a sign for your week 12 discussion that advertises or describes your special feature, then that sign can serve as the one required image for this page. Finally, the design section is something that I covered in much more detail in the video 5 design elements video. So please watch that in its entirety for a breakdown of all the required design elements. I know this page looks like a lot and it sounds like a lot, but really I go into so much detail because I do want it to be very clear to all of you of what exactly is expected in terms of the skeleton of this LibGuide. Once you have all of these different elements down, you are welcome to embellish, to add, to get creative. If there's something you wanted to try with the LibGuide and anything that you may have learned in the SpringShare training guides, you're definitely welcome to do that. I also want to point out the rubric that's at the bottom of this page. It's going to be very important that you check this rubric to make sure that you're hitting all of the required elements, and you'll see what those elements corresponding points are here. Okay, I want to say have fun and be creative, but I know it's the end of the semester, so I'll share some advice that one of my graduate school professors shared with me that I have said to students over and over again. You don't have to strive for excellence in every single one of your college assignments. Strive for completion. And because you are naturally excellent, it's going to be great, okay? Please get started on this as soon as you can. I would say take it day by day. If you can get a couple of pages done per day, make sure you give yourself a day to edit. And please remember that the final project is due on Friday of this week, as well as the final project reflection. So you have those two things to submit by this Friday to earn those 200 points, okay? Be well. Please reach out with any questions that you may have about this. I hope this video really outlined everything that needs to get done, and I can't wait to see what you all come up with. Have a great week, and you'll hear more from me soon.